Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to take a look at the pens that I've got inked up, but they aren't in my everyday use. So they're pens that have come from either previous months or I've inked them up especially for a particular video. So let's jump on in. Just going to turn this around ever so slightly. This is a Ruddy notepad, by the way. So the first one, this is called a duck bill pen. Now, people have suggested that there could be a Jinhao model which has just been called something. I need to follow up on that. It's a nice pen. I love the transparent nature. So we've got this safari style body. As you know, we already see, look there, we've got a converter. Came with a converter. We've got, to be honest, that safari style section. So it's got that triangular form to it. And on the bottom here, we've got a 1.1 stub nib. So this is a duckbill. It's 1.1 and the ink in here is by Colorverse and it's Aquarius Whispers. The price for this pen, $4 Aussie. Dirt cheap, isn't it? Really like this. It's a nice pen. I've only had it a couple of weeks, but for what I've paid for it, wow, you get a decent pen for your money. I do have a 2.5mm version of it as well. I just haven't brought that out. I'm going to be using that. I'm going to be using that for headers once my current Mr. pen runs out. Up next, we're going from China over to Japan, and this is the Platinum Preppy. This is the crystal version. Another nice transparent pen. There are different colours available though. What I've done here, I'm just using a cartridge that came with it and I'm just refilling it. So what I'll do is use my blunt nose syringe to put in the ink that I want. These Platinum pens, the nibs, they're not labelled as in fine, medium, anything like that. This is labelled as 05. I think it equates to a Japanese medium, although a number of people have said that it's a Japanese fine, but to me the line looks more like a Japanese medium. So we've got here a Platinum Preppy. I do love the way this writes, it's really, really nice. Just going to give it a slight agitation. The ink 05. The ink, the nib is 05. I don't know, jumping ahead. Now we can talk about the ink. It's by Diamine. And it's a Bar Humbug. This is a chameleon ink, and I've had no flow issues in this pen with it. Price for this pen, you're looking about $10 Aussie. So again, a nice, inexpensive pen. So that's a Platinum Preppy. Our next pen, back to China. This is the Kaigelu and it's the 316. Now be aware there is also a 316A, virtually identical, except instead of having these black ends and a black section, it's got the section and the ends all match the colour. Slightly translucent, this barrel. Chances are you won't be able to see through that on the camera, but we do have a little bit of translucency there. This colour's called Aloe. It's another cartridge converter. There we go. It's another one. I'm deliberately agitating it because there's another chameleon ink in here. Here we've got the nib. I love Kaigelu nibs. I find they're really wet writers. We've got here then the Kaigelu 316. The nib on here is a medium. The ink is by Diamine and it's Mint Twist. Price for this pen, here you're looking about $28 Aussie. I love the way this nib writes. Not sure if the mic would have caught it, but it's as if it's whispering as I'm writing. Very, very nice. Our next pen is from Pen BBS. And this is a Pen BBS Model 308. I've got a couple of these in different colours. This is a really nice blue. Bit of like a torpedo shape. So we've got a fairly classic looking shape there. We've got here a converter. Now this is all plastic, so you could potentially eyedropper this. I've not tried it, so I don't know if that works. I don't know if there's maybe any leaks anywhere else in the body. But there's an O-ring there, and there was all plastic, so a little bit of silicone grease wouldn't hurt. But that's something you can possibly do. The section following through with that same colour. This section, just about right for me. It's not too small, it's not too big. Just move the paper up ever so slightly. So we've got here a pen BBS. It's another one that sounds like it's whispering. And this is a model 308. The nib on here is a medium. The ink is by Diamine. And it's Cosmic Glow. This is a sheening ink. Price for this pen, approximately 36 Aussie dollars. Another one, as I've said, it whispers, very nice to write with. We're going to jump over to Germany for the next pen. This is a Kaweco Sport. There we go. I'll put it around there so we can actually see the wording. This is in the green colour. Well, quite obviously, isn't it? Because it's green. With this, you can buy a converter. You have to pay for it separately. The converter doesn't hold a lot of ink. So what I do, like with a preppy, I just refill a cartridge. It is plastic, so you can eyedropper these. I've eyedroppered my other Sport that I've got, which is slightly transparent, so I don't mind that. With a solid colour, don't really want to eyedropper those, but that's a personal choice. The nib on here is a Kaweco nib, and this one's a broad. The nibs might look small, but they're definitely mighty. So this is a Kaweco Sport with a 1.1 with a broad nib. The ink in here is by Diamine, and it's spruce. Now this is a scented ink and also a sheening ink. Price for this pen is about 43 Aussie dollars. What I like about this pen, once I put the cap on here and posted it, it's a nice length. Take it off, you can use that maybe for a sentence or two. Takes up next to no size when it's got the cap on. It's designed to be carried around in your pockets. A brilliant pocket pen. So that was the Kaweco Sport. Going back to China, here we've got a Wing Sun pen. This is the Wing Sun 630. Chunky pen. So we've gone from a couple of fairly thin pens to a nice chunky pen here. This is also a piston filler. So you don't have cartridges, you don't have converters. What you've got here is, at the end here, this end cap, it works a piston, and the piston will go down. You put it in the ink, turn it the other way, and it will draw that ink up. We've got here an ink window. Very hard to see, because I've got a fairly dark ink in here. Oh, it looks dark at the moment, but it gives you an idea of your ink level. We've got a massive nib on here. This is a number 8 size nibs. Most of the other pens are number 6, so like that Pen BBS 308, the Kaigelu 316, they were number 6 nibs, but here we've gone to the number 8 nib. Massive it is. It's a fine point on it. So we've got here a Wing Sun. .630 with a fine nib. The ink is by Diamine. And it's Harmony. Price for this pen, approximately 46 Aussie dollars. It's another one, you're getting a lot of pen for very little money. I mean, yes, I know 46 Aussie dollars isn't cheap, but what you're getting is an inexpensive pen. So that's the Wing Sun 630. So my final pen under 150 Aussie dollars. That goes to the TWSBI Eco. This is the green version. I love my Ecos. It was the second pen that I bought when I got back into fountain pens. I believe it was actually this model. I love the green. We've got the demonstrator here. So this, although it looks green, that's because of the ink. That's actually transparent, fully clear. Piston pen. You can see here the piston mechanism, which is nice. So if you want to see how a piston works, the TWSBI Eco is very good for that. Got a fairly thin section. That's one of the downsides. And then here we've got a nib. I believe it's maybe a 5.5. Could be a 5, but I think it's a 5.5 size nib. In the hand though, it's really nice to write with. I've got 3 of these. I really like my Ecos. So we've got here a TWSBI Eco with a 1.1 stub nib. The ink is by Diamine and it's called Merry and Bright. Now this is a shimmer ink. Not sure if the shimmer will show through. Hopefully it will. So we'll come back and look at that in a minute. Price for that? Approximately 59 Aussie dollars. It's another pen, really good value for money. So that's that TWSBI Eco. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos. And then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Now we're going to take a look at pens over 150 Aussie dollars. We're going to start here with another TWSBI. This is the TWSBI VAC 700R. Just going to work this for a second so I can show you. Beautiful clear with this gorgeous kyanite blue trim. Very nice. This is a vacuum filler. So down the centre here, hopefully you can see a metal post. There's a little plunger on the end. Now I've pushed that down because what's happening is that plunger is shutting the body off from the section, which means that ink isn't able to flow through. So when you're writing, what you would do is unscrew this, which draws that plunger up. Then to fill the pen, you would pull this out, which pulls the plunger all the way up to the top. Press it down, so it's going down, creating a vacuum behind it. When it gets down to about here, the vacuum is released as the inside of the barrel gets slightly wider. That releases it and it draws the ink up into the body. It's another thin section. I love the way that we can see the mechanism there of the feed. On here I've got another 1.1 stub nib. This is a one with that kyanite end as well. I really like this. I've got a couple of VAC 700Rs. They're both gorgeous. So we've got here a TWSBI VAC 700R. Now this is a lightish ink with a 1.1 stub nib. The ink is by Colorverse and it's Blue Moon. Price for this pen, you're looking approximately 160 Aussie dollars. It's a nice pen. I really enjoy using this pen. This ink, I actually like the fact it's pale. It's meant to be pale. I do need to try some darker inks in here as well though. So that's the TWSBI VAC 700R. Jumping over to Japan. Here we've got a Pilot pen. This is a Pilot E95S. Sort of a pocket pen size. Not quite as small as that Kaweco Sport. Fairly light. Once you take off the cap though and post it, beautiful size to write with. Let me just turn that around. There we are. Don't want the clip digging into my fingers. This is another pen where you can use a converter. I don't. I do my same trick of filling a cartridge. Why I do that, this body is fairly deep. So if you use a COM40 converter, which is what this takes, by the time you put it in, you can't actually see the ink levels. All you can see here is the knob that you twist to get the ink in and out. So by using a cartridge, I've got a better idea for what my ink levels are. The nib, this is a 14 karat gold nib, and it's also an embedded nib. Got to be careful with these embedded nibs. What I often do is I accidentally end up touching the nib and get ink all over my fingers. So that's something I have to try and be aware of. So I'm trying to get used to holding these pens a little bit higher up than I normally would. So we've got here a Pilot E95S with a medium 14 karat gold nib. The ink, it's by Colorverse, and it's Red Horizon. Price for this pen, approximately 215 Aussie dollars. It's the cheapest non-Chinese gold nibbed pen I have. There we go. I think this ink is a really nice match of the colour there. We're going to take a trip over to Italy now. Let's move this up ever so slightly. And we're going to go to a pen from Delta. This is the Delta Dune or Delta Dune. Not quite sure how to pronounce that second word. It's spelt Dune, that's why I'd normally call it Dune. The colour of this, or the pattern, is called Reflex. It's another piston filling pen. Here we've got an ink window. The ink window is transparent, but it's also blue. So I find that makes it very difficult to actually see the ink level. It's also a fairly narrow window, which doesn't help. It's a nice wide pen though. The section very wide, very comfortable. Lengthwise is not too bad. And it also posts, and it's not too bad when it's posted. It doesn't feel overly back heavy. We've got here a nib which has got like a gunmetal nearly black colour there, and that's labelled there with the Delta logo. Comfortable to use though. So we've got here a Delta Dune with a broad nib. It's a steel nib. The ink is by Diamine, and it's Early Dusk. I always want to write Early Dawn, I don't know why. Price wise, you're looking at approximately 222 Aussie dollars, all the twos there. It's another one, I really like it, and quite like it with this ink as well. So that's the Delta Dune. We're now going to take a look at the Benu Talisman. This is in the Dragon's Blood pattern. Beautiful sparkly reds and greens. I love this talisman body, just the way it's faceted, so hopefully you can see as we're catching the light there. Now I'm going to give this a bit of an agitation because in here I do have a shimmer ink. Really like this. As I say, this body shape feels really nice. It's another one where we've got a converter. There we go. It did come with the converter. It is plastic fittings. I've not even thought about eyedropper in it. Don't know. Maybe if you like experimenting, it might be something you want to do. I don't intend to ever try that. In the hand, unposted, just about right. Got a number 6 Schmidt nib there. Always have to be careful how I pronounce that. The pen, it will post, but looks ugly when it's posted to me. And it again is back heavy. So we've got here a Benu Talisman. This is a gorgeous nib on here with a broad nib. The ink is by Diamine and it's tinsel. Price wise, you're looking approximately 267 Aussie dollars. It's a nice pen though. It's my only Benu. A lot of the Benus, when I look at them, they're just too busy. Whereas this one, I can get away with this. I think it's not too bad. So that's the Benu Talisman. Going back to Germany now for a Lamy pen. This is the Lamy 2000. Quite often when I'm talking about this, I call it the Safari. It's not. It's definitely the 2000. It looks very different than the Safari. I don't know why I keep getting them mixed up. This has been around, or this particular style, I think it was somewhere in the 60s. Might be in the 50s, but I think it was the 60s. There we go. We've got this beautiful macrolon, which is a type of fiberglass. It's another piston filling pen. You cannot see the join between the piston cap and the body. I can feel it here, but you can't see it. We've got a teeny tiny, and this is one of my complaints, the ink window is so thin and narrow, it's very difficult to see what your ink level is. These nubs here, people have asked about this. What they are is when you put the cap on, it clicks onto those nubs, so they actually hold the cap in place. Got a nice silvery coloured section. Then at the bottom there, we've got this beautiful 14 karat gold nib. So we've got here a Lamy 2000. This is such a smooth writing pen, and it's a broad nib, although it writes more like a stub. The ink is by Colorverse, and it's a super giant. Do you know, it's just as if this nib is just gliding over the paper, next to no feedback at all. Price wise, approximately 340 Aussie dollars. So there we've got the Lamy 2000. Over to Japan for a Sailor, and this is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. So the smallest in the Pro Gear line. Love this. It's called Blue Green Nebula. Absolutely stunning, absolutely gorgeous to look at. Another cartridge converter. There we go. Metal fitting, so wouldn't even think about eyedropper in this, which is a shame because I think it would look really nice eyedroppered with some ink sloshing around underneath this slightly transparent material. As I say, fairly small pen. I have to use this posted. The ink, I don't know, I'm obsessed with ink at the moment. The nib is a Sailor nib 14 karat gold. I will be honest with you, it's a favourite nib in my collection. I absolutely love the way this nib feels on paper. Section is also a bit on the thin side. Remember though, this is the Pro Gear Slim. So we've got here a Sailor. I'm just going to put PG for Pro Gear Slim. We've got a broad 18 karat gold nib. The ink is by Diamine, and it's a Garland. Now this ink is both a shimmer and a sheen, and the price here, we're looking approximately 450 Aussie dollars. I love this pen. It's not inked up all the time. I would say it's inked up though about 80% of the time. So that's the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. Let's move this up ever so slightly. The final pen, the Visconti Homo Sapiens. So an Italian made pen. This is a heavy pen. The material is made from basaltic rock. That's the cooled lava. They grind it up and mix it with resin to give this. And this rock, it comes from Mount Etna. Very unusual. This is the Dark Age model. Beautiful, stunning, all black. This is a vacuum filler. I think they call it a power vac system. And the cap, I'm just going to show you the cap. This is something, it's got a hook safe mechanism. So to take the cap off, that's it. It's so smooth, you hardly need to move it. So if you're somewhere where you're taking a lot of notes and you need to be taking the cap on and off, this is perfect. The nib on here is 18 karat gold. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Absolutely stunning. Very nice to write with. In the hand, feels really nice. Nice length. It's heavy. The heaviness, it helps to balance out the entire pen. It sort of posts, but it only posts onto a tiny bit here of the top of the body, so I never bother posting it. I leave this open. I'm not sure if it's got a shut-off valve. Unfortunately, you can't see through, which is a bit of a downside. So we've got here a Visconti Homo Sapiens. It's got a broad 18 karat gold nib. I've just realised here, that's not 18 karat, that's 14 karat. I don't know, telling you lies. And same with the Lamy 2000, that's also 14 carat. The ink, I'm going to go on to the next line for the ink. It's by Diamine, and it's Fireside Snug. This is a very wet combo. This nib is very soft and it's very wet. The ink also in here seems to be really wet. I love this combo. Until I've run out of Fireside Snug, I'm only using this ink in this pen because I just think as a combo, they look really nice. And then when I'm looking at it, we've got the black, the basaltic rock, and this Fireside Snug reminds me, when you see lava flowing on TV, very much reminds me of that. Price-wise, this is not a cheap pen. It's $1,318 to buy now. Now, I've had this a while and I got it with some really decent discounts, so I didn't pay nowhere near this much, but yeah, not a cheap pen. So they're my inked pens that are not in everyday use for February of 2025. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. So what pens and inks have you got inked up? How do you pick the ink that you put into the pen? Do you try to go for matchy-matchy, which a lot of mine are? Or do you try to go for something a bit different like I'm doing here with the Homo Sapiens, where I'm going for the feel of the ink and the pen together? Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.